Hello and welcome to Motor Week. On this week's programme we have our very first drives of the all-new Fiat Stilo and the gorgeous Audi A4. Plus, in our final look at Formula One, we look at Toyota's preparations for the 2002 season.
And then others lead a life more, well, ordinary. Their bonnets don't need scoops or bulges, and their wheels will never be clad in funky, rock-scrambling tyres. But they do offer a handy bit of load space. They're nice and comfy inside, and they don't make you look too silly. They are, in other words, a lot like pants. Whether it's a standard pair of Y-fronts or a funky latex thong in lilac green with tiger skin waistband and studs up the front, they've all got the same basic job to do. Bit like the Audi A4 Avant, really. So, is it the saggy old Ys of the family car world, or the Tom Jones over trousers specials? Let's talk pants. This is the most important point when you're choosing both pants and an everyday car: comfort. Because if it rattles your undercarriage, it's going in the bin. And on the comfort front, the news for the A4 Avant is good. They've taken a typically German approach to comfort, namely rock-solid seats that gradually give and conform to your own personal shape over a lengthy journey. It's also got a great ride, thanks largely to the all-new all-aluminium suspension, which keeps everything on the straight and narrow, and it is a very comfortable ride. Our next point of pantage assessment is very close to comfort. It's one thing keeping everything nice and comfy when you're just dawdling around town, but can your pants and your everyday car cope when the pace hots up a little? Well, yeah, this particular pair of shreddies certainly can. It does depend though which version you go for. There's a huge range of engines. At the bottom of the range, a 1.8 litre petrol, which is perfectly respectable, and I suppose in performance terms at the top, 3 litre V6, which is very nice, especially when mated to Audi's very clever Quattro four-wheel drive system. This particular one today is a 2.5 litre turbo diesel, and it's great for a turbo diesel. Powerful, punchy, torquey, it even sounds really good. In this instance, we've got it mated to a 6-speed manual gearbox, which is very handy, but there is for the first time the choice of Audi's Multitronic semi-automatic clever gearbox, which is also very good. Start to press on a bit and you do feel the advantage of the A4 being slightly bigger in all directions than the older version, but it's still a compact car, it still feels quite chuckable. So performance, good news. So, in pant terms, we're talking comfy and able to keep everything together nicely when the pace hots up. But, another critical factor now, you'll never be truly comfy if everything's all, you know, squashed in. Know what I mean? Well, it's an Audi, so you really don't have to worry on that front. What we have here is the equivalent of a triple-sticked gusset, industrially elasticated waist with Kevlar side panels. Anything you try and do to wear these babies out will hurt you first. So our pants are comfy, they're spacious and they're tough. But will people laugh at you when they see you in them? This isn't the biggest on the market, and those with a seriously big load to accommodate are going to be looking elsewhere straight away. But for those of us with a more standard load to accommodate, things are looking good. Great boot space, easy access for getting your tackle in and out, and there's a handy underfloor dirt tray in case you should inadvertently bring any muck in. The Audi, though, is a very comfy pair of pants. It's unobtrusive, but good looking. It's spacious on the inside, but compact, stylish, but built to last. It's certainly not your leather thong, but then it's not your stringy old wife fronts either. It's somewhere in the middle, a pair of designer boxers maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if in a year or two you find it nestling there at the back of your pan drawer as your favourite old pair.
Italians. Clever little lot, aren't they? Fantastic fashion designers, great food, and, on my head, son, pretty amazing football team. And you know what I've heard? They make great lovers. Did I ever tell you my middle name's Luigi? Stilo, the Italian word for style. Now that's the name that they've given to their latest creation, the all-new Fiat Stilo. Now I'm always a little bit sceptical when it comes to the marketing for this class of car, the small family hatchback, the way they talk about stirring passions and a sharp, exciting drive. You can just see it. Darling, get your coat, we're off to the bowling green for a sharp and exciting drive. Now the press bump for this car suggests that name, Stilo, is going to create images of style and passion and really fire the emotions. Oh! So, like the Lamborghini, yes? Well, not really, lads, because at the end of the day, it's still a 12 grand Fiat, isn't it? Back to that name, Stilo. Well, quoting the press pack again, they say it's instantly recognisable as Italian in any language. G'day, do you like me Stilo? Yeah, I had the Stilo. Well, I like it really, it's a bit of a Stilo. Sounds Italian to me. But I guess as a name it's not that bad. They could have called it the new Fiat Badger. Now when the Stilo goes on sale next February, you'll get a choice of 6 engines. There's 2 diesels and 4 petrol engines. Now the petrol will range from a little bitty 1.2 right up to the 2.4. Now the one I'm test driving today is the 1.8 petrol. And I've got to be honest, it's a little bit on the flat side. It's one of those that you've really got to rev before it'll do anything. But as we said before, performance isn't such an issue in this type of car. I mean, it's not as if you want to leave your tyres stuck to the tarmac at the supermarket when you pull away with your shopping. Now the ride and the handling on the Stilo is everything I expected it to be, because I can't remember the last time I got in this type of car and thought, oh, it handles abysmally. It doesn't. But then none of them do these days. There's not really any such thing as a bad car. It's quite firm, the steering's fine, and it's very comfortable, and I think on a motorway it's going to be a great cruiser. But again, if you want the sporty option, it's going to be that 2.4. I think that's going to be a real stormer. So back to that big question of style, which after all is what the Stilo is all about. Well, from the outside, I think they've got it absolutely spot on. It's gorgeous. From the front, it mimics quite a few cars. You've got like a baby Passat there, even a bit of the Skoda, which isn't a bad thing anymore. And the back is superb. Very much like the Alfa 147, it's very broad, very purposeful, very angular. But above all, I think the whole car from the outside is unmistakable. And then we come to the interior. Now I think this was a bit of a 4 o'clock special. Hey Luigi, are you finished the design for the interior? No, not yet, it'll be okay, let's go to the pub. Just do the same as everybody else, it'll be fine. Why have they done it? The outside shows so much flair, they've been exciting with it, they've been different with it, and it comes to the interior and it's like every other bland interior that is on the market. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad quality, it all feels well put together, it's very stable, switchgear's good, it's just dull to look at. The only bit I do like is the gear knob and the speedo dials. Fiat reckon that this new Stilo is going to stick him in the Premier League, and I've got to agree with them. It looks fantastic, and the handling and build quality are certainly as good as most in that class. But it's that interior that lets it down and sticks it in a midfield position when it could have so easily been a striker.
The Koreans, like the Japanese, love their small, compact city cars. Tall for maximum space efficiency and enough room to sit 4 people is the order of the day. But today we're not in any exotic Asian city. No, we're in rainy Ramsbottom. So, will these Oriental warriors cut mustard here? Let's find out. First to the Daewoo Matiz. The story goes that Fiat commissioned a small car designed from Guigiero to replace the Cinquecento. But in the end they decided to facelift the car instead to become the Seicento. Then the boss of Daewoo happened on the styling study and said, "We'll have that," and the rest is history. The Hyundai definitely didn't benefit from the Italian style house. The best thing that we can say about the looks of our test car is that it's going back at the end of the week. Owners won't be so fortunate. Inside, the Amica makes a better fist at the design thing. There's actually a bit of style about the dashboard, but these seats have you sitting very high up. You feel like you're travelling on a bus. And these pedals, well, they're far too close for a long-legged passenger. All right for little shorties like me, though. The Matiz has an equally good bash at designing the dash, and as you'll find out in a mo, the poetry stops with the driving experience. But this car is a little bit bigger than the other and has got a more natural driving position. You'll find out that both boots are very small in these cars. Now the Amica has got a little bit more punch, but the GSI spec doesn't mean to say that it's going to go fast. But it will pull the skin off a rice pudding. Just. But the Matiz won't. Overtaking doesn't so much have to be pre-planned as booked well in advance. But the Matiz is the better ride of the two. If you're thinking Austin Mini harsh, then you might be quite pleasantly surprised, because I reckon that this is this car's strongest feature behind its styling. But I have to say, this is the biggest steering wheel that I have ever experienced in any car, let alone a tiny little compact like this. Now, let's not get back onto the styling where the Hyundai is concerned, but the ride is more of a crash-bang wallop that you'd expect from a city car. But it's not awful. But what is truly awful is the effect that these looks have on other people. Because, I mean, if they're not looking and staring, they're laughing, and if they're not laughing, then other drivers are on a mission to overtake you, if you've had the nerve to overtake them. Fuel consumption will match or better anything else you care to think of, as will the price. Only other city slickers will compete in the sub £7,000 bracket for value. Throw in the 3-year warranty as a first present to your bank manager and you'll find it hard to fault them for value. Now, we wouldn't normally praise the Daewoo for residuals, but the Hyundai's looks are such that it's just not going to hold its value in the second-hand car market. In fact, you're going to have a lot of very unhappy-looking youngsters driving around in these cars that the grandmas have actually given them, because it actually works out cheaper to do that than to trade them in. So today isn't so much about choosing a winner, but shooting down the ugly duckling. Now the Hyundai is the fastest car, but you're going to buy this car because of the price, not because of its desirability. But saying that, the interior designer does deserve a pay rise, and he deserves to be let loose on the outside of the car. So today's winner by a knockout blow is the Daewoo Matiz. And I have to say, it does look quite funky since its recent facelift. And this is reflected in the sales figures, because it's outselling the Fiat Stilo 3-to-1. Oh dear.
Well, that's it for part 1, but after the break, Richard Hammond takes to the Highlands in the new Mercedes C-Class estate, plus with our regular feature, a behind-the-scenes look at Formula 1.
Style. Something often linked with cars, sporty, fashionable cars, but not often associated with estate cars. Until now, because now we seem to have the stylish estate cars, things like the Alfa Romeo Sport Wagon, and this one from Mercedes. It's a lifestyle estate, another lifestyle estate. What lifestyle? What if your lifestyle involves sitting in front of the telly a lot, eating chips, not going anywhere, or carrying really, really huge stuff around? Then it's not going to be any use to you, is it? I kind of think I know what they mean. I think they're talking about those people who drive up and down the motorway with surfboards and skis and canoes strapped to the top of their car. Personally, I think the best thing for all of them would be to be made to strap their surfboards onto a skateboard and pump that at the M6, but never mind. Mercedes claim that their new C-Class is finding brand new Merc customers all over the country, and a lot of them young, which is exactly what they want to achieve with the car. And it certainly does look younger, brighter and fresher than any other Merc. It's available with 6 engines, amongst which are 2 diesels, one of which has 5 cylinders and delivers 170 brake. Anyway, this is a 3.2 litre V6 petrol version, which is even more powerful and even more fun, obviously. Both the C-Class Estate and its lovely little sister, the Sport Coupe, were not simply rehashed versions of the C-Class Saloon upon which they are based. They were both designed at the same time as the Saloon, and so can claim to be cars in their own right, which does shine through in the very finished design. It may be sporty and lifestyle, but it is still a Mercedes, so it is still quite posh. You do want to get a fair bit of kit for your money, and they're not as tight as they used to be. You get automatic climate control, snazzy leather trim on the steering wheel, this nice aluminium effect on the dashboard. You can start out adding the odd bit on, obviously, and it can start getting a bit expensive if you want to put leather into it, if you want to go for fully electric seats. But then, it is a prestige motor, after all. Nobody ever sang, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Peridou nipper?" I think there's probably a very good reason for that. Now, so far we have majored on the performance and the looks of the thing, but it is still a practical estate car, and it does still have a big boot, though not the biggest. And more importantly, things like this flat load lip, so you can get in very easily. When these are folded down, you have a completely flat load space. It's got a very nifty and sturdy looking luggage cover for once, and best of all, a stylish shopping crate. Now I've really arrived. Mercedes are currently expending huge amounts of energy in desperately trying to shed their rather fuddy-duddy image and appeal to a younger buyer. And with their ever-expanding range and the arrival of the new C-Class, they're doing a very good job of it. No doubt about it, people want to buy these sporty lifestyle little estates. This one starts from, what, 22,000 and rises to about 37 for this version with all the bells and whistles on, which isn't too bad. You have got to consider, though, that the Alfa Romeo Sport Wagon starts for thousands less than the cheapest version of this, but then this is still a Mercedes and still feels, drives and looks like a Mercedes.
As we draw to the end of an exciting 2001 Formula One season, we look forward to the start of 2002. Now, one of the major new players next year will be Toyota, who, with an investment of just under £78.5 million, look set to make quite an impact next season. During a hectic day of testing and development, we caught up with their drivers, Mika Salo and Alan McNish, to find out how they're preparing for the season to come.
We're on schedule actually, so we've done everything what we were supposed to do, and we'll have some new stuff coming all the time, so we have still a lot of work to do, but we're on the track.
It's a new team, new car, new engine, and I think particularly I've been impressed by the fact that we've had an engine that runs straight out the box. It's got good power, good revs, and we haven't had many problems. Normally with that situation, you spend most of your days changing engines in the garage, but we've not been in that position up till now.
With both Alan and Mika taking a year out from competitive racing in order to test for Toyota, how would this affect their own personal performance in the new season?
Yeah, of course it will be. It's nice for me to have a year off the racing, have the weekends free, and have much more energy next year to go back for racing, and also with a brand new team and big name like Toyota, so it's something very emotional for everybody for sure in Australia next year.
There's a reason for not racing this year, there's a reason for testing, and that's to be sitting on the Grand Prix grid next year. However, testing does have its own satisfactions. When you do progress, when you make things better, when you go faster, when you do a good lap time, then that's the satisfaction from testing.
The level of backing and high enthusiasm from the team all suggest Toyota aren't going to cut any corners for the 2002 season. And next year, they're surely going to be a force to be reckoned with. Well, if you like your Italian cars to have a racing heritage, you don't have to have a Ferrari. On next week's programme, we look at the new Fiat Punto Abarth. We'll see you next week.